Bakudeku Shippers. So a Bakudeku shipper is someone that ships the characters Katsuki Bakugo and Izuku Midoriya, also known as Deku, in the show My Hero Academia. Bakugo bullied Deku when they were younger, but throughout the show, the two respect each other a lot more, becoming not exactly friends, but more like rivals. Now, I've never seen My Hero Academia outside of a few episodes, so I spoke to two of my friends who are much more familiar with the franchise, and they said this. They're basically the plague of the My Hero Academia fanbase. They represent the seedy underbelly of the shipping community at its worst. They don't actually care about the content of the show, other than their headcanon ship, and they will make the creators and fans aware of this by any means necessary. This deters people away from the show and makes it popular to hate on because of that part of the fanbase. The ship basically got deconfirmed and they fully crashed out, attacking and sending death threats to the author and others. Their only proof for the ship is that the two characters talk to each other and they have a complex relationship that develops over the story. Zero romance elements at all. It's projection at its most violent. It's also pretty cringe. Death threats are surprisingly common within the My Hero Academia fandom, and outsiders generally sneer at the sheer amount of toxicity that the fanbase, especially Bakudeku shippers, so often display. Last of Us Ellie hate. So The Last of Us is a game created by Naughty Dog in 2013, telling the story of a young teenager called Ellie and a grizzled man called Joel, who in a post-apocalyptic world tries to escort Ellie to a group of scientists called the Fireflies. You see, Ellie is immune from the zombie virus that took over the world, so she could be humanity's final hope. The game was a smash hit and is regarded by many to be one of the best video games of all time, telling one of the most emotionally gut-wrenching stories ever put to console. And given that Hollywood has very recently been making a lot of video game adaptations, it made sense for the franchise to have a live-action adaptation. However, backlash came after Bella Ramsey was cast as Ellie. Despite high praise for her performance in Game of Thrones, some people thought that she didn't look enough like her video game counterparts. In fact, they casted another actress, Caitlin Dever, in another role, and many people think that she looks more like Ellie than Ellie. Other people, especially those on a Last of Us subreddit, don't think that she's a good enough actress. And of course others thought that she's too ugly, which is an odd thing to say considering the character is canonically a teenager. But since the show first aired in January 2023, Bella Ramsey has been the subject of immense harassment and ridicule from aggravated fans. Homestuck Sharpie Bath. Homestuck was an online webcomic created by Andrew Hussey in 2009 and follows four characters called John, Dave, Rose and Jade, who after they accidentally destroyed the Earth, had to play a game called Spurb in order to create a new universe. Well, it was Anime Expo 2011 when something would happen that would change the course of history of conventions and the Homestuck fanbase forever. You see, some of the most popular characters in Homestuck were these guys. These were trolls, and a fan apparently wanted to go as one at Anime Expo. But you'll notice that this is quite a hard cosplay to pull off. Any cosplay where you have to change the colour of your skin requires some serious dedication and planning, and in one instance a Homestuck fan had the dedication in spades, but the planning was where things went seriously wrong. A 4chan post described how she wanted to go as the one with red eyes and the Libra symbol. Upon meeting up with some friends and mutuals, this fan apparently locked herself in a hotel bathroom to do her makeup, but 2 hours later and it still wasn't done. The original poster claimed that they smelt something strange coming from the bathroom, so they shimmied the door open. And what they saw next is literally insane. If you don't know what's waiting for them on the other side of that door, comment your guess down below now. I'll give you a moment to do it. Pause the video now to do it. Okay, what they saw was a woman naked in a bath full of vodka and grey Sharpie dye. This is an excerpt from the original post. Bottles and Sharpies were everywhere. It's all over the walls, on the tile, on almost all the towels, on several articles of clothing and bags in the bathroom. What she says? I was going to clean it up. Bitch, you tried to dye yourself grey in the bathtub. We kick her out of the room. She pays $700 in damage fees. She gets skin poisoning / damage from her stupid stunt. F***ing Homestuck fans. Now, it's unconfirmed if this ever actually happened. No evidence has ever been shared, but given that most of the internet wasn't surprised that a Homestuck fan would do that, and we've seen a lot dumber things happen, a lot of people seem to believe it. Spiderman Brawl. Back in late 2021, a group of Spider-Man fans decided to forget literally everything the character stands for as they got into a physical altercation over tickets to a day one screening of the new movie, Spider-Man No Way Home. In case you don't know, the film was one of the most hyped releases of that year, with there being rumours that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, who have both played Spider-Man in previous adaptations, would return for Tom Holland's third installment. Resale tickets for day one screenings were selling for literally thousands of dollars, and in one case within Cuernavaca, Mexico, located just south of Mexico City, a group of Spider-Man superfans got into a fist fight over tickets to see the movie. According to reports, at least a dozen fans got caught up in the violence, and a video of the incident went viral on Twitter, with users who saw the video saying things along the lines of "Yo sé que a vacas peleamos pero que rico cuando chingamos," while showing a screenshot of two of the fighters, quite literally cheek to cheek. This was a very bad day for the reputation of Spider-Man fans. And on the topic of famous New Yorkers, my good friend Ray, who you guys might know as Raymundo2112, so kindly offered to help me out with this video with an entry, so for the next minute, let's throw things over to him.
The Fortnite doxing incident. On December 23rd, 2023, Fortnite was just coming out of their OG season, which had brought the game its highest player count ever. What started off as excitement quickly turned into rage as millions of players logged into the game, only to notice that their characters were sluggish and slow, with a whole new animation for all movement and decreased speed. I think I can speak for everyone when I say that this felt bad. So bad that people instantly took to Twitter to voice their disgust. Fortnite leaker Hypex posted a side-by-side comparison of the two. One of the lead developers for the new animations quote-tweeted it excitedly, talking about how proud he is of the work that he and his team have done. What should have just been an innocent tweet turned into hell for this man. Thousands and thousands of people started spitting venom in his comment section. Tons of people sent death threats his way, and it's said that he was also doxxed by an angry Fortnite player. The sad part is, from what we know, he worked on the animations for the characters, and wasn't a part of the slow speed at which they ran at, which really was the issue at hand. The incident is still a stain on the Fortnite community, as it was so cruel and vitriolic.
Thank you very much for helping out Ray. His channel is going to be linked in the description in case you want to check him out, which I'd highly recommend. Pokemon NSFW Fanart. It's no secret that since its inception in 1996, that some people have expressed that they're physically attracted to certain Pokemon. Zoophiles have essentially been conditioned to salivate at the idea of a new Pokemon generation because it will mean hundreds of new releases to satisfy their deviant desires. Pokemon such as Gardevoir, Lopunny, Lucario, Zoroark, and Vaporeon have been lusted after for years now. Their Rule 34 pages are filled to the brim with all sorts of not safe for work drawings. And in the case of Vaporeon, there is a very infamous copypasta that details how Vaporeon is the most breedable Pokemon out of all of them. Worse yet, the franchise is the third most searched for video game title on the hub. Keep in mind that most of the characters in the franchise are animals or children, and I have a sneaky suspicion that Nurse Joy, Officer Jenny, and Ash's mum aren't making up the lion's share of these searches. There's plenty more I could say, but let's move on before this video gets demonetized. The Panic at the Disco Cookies incident. Panic at the Disco is a very famous band featuring Brendon Urie as its frontman. It's been around since 2004, and depending on the era could be described as either emo, pop punk, pop rock, or a whole range of other genres. Over the years, they've had literally dozens of smash hits, such as I Write Sins Not Tragedies, High Hopes, Death of a Bachelor, The Ballad of Mona Lisa, and so on and so forth. Bottom line, they are extremely popular and have been for some time. But Brendon Urie has a peculiar rule, and it comes with a chilling backstory. That rule being that he doesn't accept food from fans, and he hasn't since he was 18 years old. A few years ago on a live stream, Brendon Urie would reveal why, so this reason is in his own words.
You're gonna make cookies and bring them. Well, that's very sweet, but I have to warn you ahead of time, we will not eat your home-baked goods. And it's nothing against you personally. The first time we ever got a batch of cookies made by a fan, I ate like 10 of them, and there was a hair baked into each one. And it took me 10 cookies to realize this. And yeah, they were purposely baked in. So we just can't, like I can't, you know, even store-bought stuff I get weird with because I don't know if it was resealed or like whatever the fuck is going on. And it's nothing against you guys personally. Like we've just had, you know, a few too many like horrible things happen like that where it's just creepy and weird and we're like, ah, that's gross. So thank you though for the thought. That's very sweet.
Why some obsessed fan would do that is still a mystery to this very day, and it's unfortunate that it was quite literally the very first time these guys had ever been given free food from fans, but it tainted the entire idea from that day forward. We're about halfway through this video now, so I'd just like to take a moment to say that if you haven't already, if you're enjoying this video, then make sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more. I would appreciate it tremendously, and it would tell me that you want to see more of this kind of stuff, so don't forget to show your support. Also, make sure to follow me on my Instagram and Twitter if you want to see more of me. Unless you're a fan of one of the fan bases that I've crapped on, then please do not send hate there. Also, a huge shout out to Skibbity Fish, who made the iceberg where I got most of these entries from. With that said, let's get into some darker stories. The Furry Pizza Incident. This is a story that I brought up once on my channel before in my video about infamous furry incidents. The story dates back to 2021 during a furry convention called Biggest Little FurCon, or BLFC, and it happened after a furry known as Main Wolfie asked people if they wanted to have a pizza party where it would be expected that they would bring their own dip, if you know what I mean. It's said that a total of 19 furries added their own flavors to this witch's brew. However, that's not where the story ends, as in a now deleted tweet, Maned Wolfie stated that the pizza was left out in the hallway of the convention hotel. So now, any unfortunate passerby with a hankering for a sweet blend of tomato, cheese and meat might also experience a secret sauce topping if the temptation prevails and they decide to go grab a slice. The story began spreading like wildfire on Twitter, with users very angry at Maned Wolfie. He received a tremendous amount of anger and backlash. The entire thing gave the furry community a bad name and played into some negative stereotypes. On top of that, it's very much possible that this pizza could have been encountered by a minor, considering that teenagers can often get jobs within hotels. Not to mention, this would be an abhorrent thing to subject any staff member to clean up, adult or not. Maned Wolfie would eventually take the pizza back into the hotel room, as he told me within an interview that we had. This Fandom incident was toxic both metaphorically and quite literally. My Little Pony Fedex shooting. The My Little Pony Fedex shooting happened in April 2021 within Indianapolis, Indiana, and was carried out by 19-year-old Brandon Scott Hole. Brandon had worked at a FedEx facility from August to October 2020 when he was fired from his job. One of the main reasons why this case is so famous is quite a strange one. While Brandon would go on to commit one of the worst atrocities in Indiana's history, the headlines from the media that received the most clicks were the ones that mentioned him being a brony. And for anyone who doesn't know what a brony is, it's an adult male fan of My Little Pony. Brandon had developed a severe obsession with the My Little Pony character, Applejack. In fact, it's said that in a post within his now terminated Facebook account, an hour before he'd go on to commit a massacre, he'd post, "I hope I can be with Applejack in the afterlife. My life has no meaning without her." It's quite fascinating that one of the last things this man would ever think about is a fictional pony created within a franchise made and developed by Hasbro, with the goal of the original series being to sell toys to little girls. But the thought of one of its characters was going around this man's head as he carried out unspeakable acts. And it's not the only time that something like this has happened in recent years. I remember that very recently there's been quite a similar case, but instead of Applejack, it was Clementine. And it also reminds me of Randy Stair's case, which I spoke about in my recent iceberg, because he was obsessed with Ember from Danny Phantom. Whatever the case, it was no secret that Brandon had a number of mental problems, but that didn't stop him from being able to purchase a firearm. He was also apparently abusive towards his mother and displayed behaviour that was so severe that law enforcement had to be called on at least 2 separate occasions. In one instance, in March 2020, after the police were contacted by his mother, who thought that he might try to die by suicide by cop, they came around his house to investigate. While there, Hole asked them not to look on his computer, but upon hearing that, of course they refused to listen to him and found that he had been accessing neo-Nazi websites. His gun was taken from him, but nothing more severe would come. He would be further investigated in April 2020, but once more, nothing came from this. It has to be said that law enforcement dropped the ball tremendously on this one. His very own mother told them that he had all the markings of a mass shooter in the making, but her cries for help fell on deaf ears. Around this time, COVID was kicking in, and upon receiving a stimulus check from the government, Brandon used the money to buy another gun, and then decorated it with My Little Pony stickers. How he was able to, despite his previous firearm being seized by the police, I don't know. But this was yet another huge letdown, and yet another reason why the coming tragedy was entirely preventable. Fast forward a year, and on the 15th of April, Brandon Scott Hall walked into the FedEx and opened fire. He shot and killed 8 people. 32-year-old Matthew R. Alexander, 19-year-old Samaria Blackwell, 66-year-old Amarjeet Johal, 64-year-old Jasvinder Kaur, 68-year-old Jaswinder Singh, 48-year-old Amarjeet Zakon, 19-year-old Carly Smith, and 74-year-old John Weissert. He then would end his own existence before law enforcement could get to him. Obviously, in the fallout of this, fingers were pointed at the disgusting lack of proactivity displayed. His mother, Sheila Hole, had done so much to try and get him monitored, but time and time again, her pleas were shrugged off. Sheila Hole said that she would not mourn Brandon's death, and she would grieve for these fallen strangers instead of her own son. This was perhaps the darkest day for everyone involved, including the Brony fandom, who were painted out to be mentally disturbed maniacs, all because of Brandon. The Steven Universe Incident. The Steven Universe Incident, often referred to as the Zami070 incident, dates back to 2013 on Tumblr, when a user named Zami posted this image, which was a group hug between Steven Universe, Greg Universe, and Rose Quartz. Little did Zami know at the time that uploading this image would lead to some of the darkest days of her life. The post now seems to be deleted, but if you go on the Wayback Machine and look down in the comment section, you might be able to understand why. People were hating on this art because they thought that Rose Quartz was drawn too skinny. People were alleging that this was fat phobia and sending very angry messages, even getting into full-on essays about it. But you'd also notice that these comments were made in 2015, despite the picture first being published in 2013. And that's because when this was made, Rose's full appearance had not yet been fully revealed. When this was made, Zami had no way of knowing her body profile, nor did anyone else. Rose's full body appearances on the show started in 2014. That was when it was revealed that she was not skinny. And once this was revealed, that was when the harassment began. A Reddit post describing the incident detailed that people turned toxic and then tried to destroy Zami. A huge list of Zami's past controversies were compiled, making accusations of racism, transphobia, fat phobia, incest fetishism, and much, much more. This person made the claim that Zami was the reason why black people were getting gunned down in the street and why there wasn't a black president until 2008, saying that she deserved to die too. How this person came to that conclusion, I have no idea. But this is one of the most insane hate messages I've ever read. People continue to make fun of Zami, criticizing her artistic ability. The insults, the cruelty, the spite, it's all got too much. And Zami had enough. On the 20th of October 2015, Zami posted this message. "I'm going to sleep forever. I'm sorry everyone, I'm just super tired. This will be the last you hear from me. I'm going to be at peace now. I'm sorry." Zami attempted to end her own life. The harassment became that severe that she tried to end it all. News outlets picked up on this. The Steven Universe team had to speak out to condemn the attacks, but the harassers then apparently turned on the Steven Universe team too, and some of their tweets later got deleted. I can confirm, however, that Zami did not pass away. Things were so severe that one of the harassers were apparently arrested for their actions, and the entire thing went down as maybe the most toxic fan incident of all time. Very few fan bases have ever driven someone to a suicide attempt, and it's even crazier that it was the Steven Universe fanbase, considering the themes of the show and how it preaches inclusion, love, and reconciliation. Those were some absolutely wild stories, but if you want to keep hearing stories concerning insane fandoms, then I have an entire video series, Inciting Incidents, where I go through the most deranged and delusional fan interactions. You can click the playlist on your screen right now to watch them one by one, or if you want to watch them all at once, I have a compilation too, so make sure to click on your screen now to give them a watch. If you like this, I'm damn confident that you'll love the series. Aside from that, I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.